Here's the cold, hard truth. Once you hit your 30s, you start losing muscle. About 3 to 5% every decade if you're not actively fighting for it. And ladies, that doesn't just mean less strength in the gym. It means a slower metabolism, weaker bones, more fat storage, and feeling tired even when you're doing all the right things. But Susie, I don't want to get bulky. Brenda, the only thing getting bulky in your 30s is your belly fat if you don't build muscle. Hey y'all, welcome back to Doozy Talks with Suzie, where we keep it real about fitness, nutrition, mindset, and how to live in sync with your body and your purpose. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because today we're talking about why muscle is the underrated anti-aging tool we have. When I was in my 20s, I thought fitness was all about cardio, eating less and staying skinny. Muscle, that was for guys in the weight room. Like, what woman in her 20s really cares about being bulky and strong? So then we fast forward to my 30s. In my 30s, my metabolism has started to slow down a little bit. I feel exhausted more often and my body starts looking a little more squishy, no matter how much I am working out. And the kicker? I was working harder than ever. More cardio, fewer calories, yet the scale wouldn't budge. What I didn't realize was this. I wasn't just fighting fat. I was fighting muscle loss. If you've ever felt like your workouts aren't working anymore, drop a emoji in the comments so I know I'm not alone. Let's talk about the breakthroughs. So my first breakthrough was understanding muscle is more than just looks. It's not just about toned arms or defined abs. Muscle is literally your metabolism. It's an engine. It burns calories even while you're sitting on the couch. The more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism runs. The better your body handles carbs, the more fat you burn naturally. Lose muscle, and suddenly your metabolism slows. Your blood sugar starts swinging. The fat gain feels effortless. That was me. I thought I was broken, when really I was just running out of muscle. And no, I'm not saying your metabolism is broken. I'm saying your metabolism is just starving for the muscle. This was a huge breakthrough as well. For women, estrogen helps protect muscle and bone. But in your 30s, more specifically toward your mid to late 30s, estrogen starts to dip. And once perimenopause hits, muscle loss speeds up. And then we're all sitting here wondering in our 40s, like, what happened? What's happened is the estrogen has dropped. And maintaining muscle health is going to help prolong that estrogen. Side note on that, ladies, something to keep in mind. And men, testosterone, it keeps muscle around longer, but you guys need to understand that men start losing about 1% of muscle mass per year after the age of 30. So, translation, no matter your gender, if you're not strength training and fueling properly, you will lose muscle. And that inevitably will cause your metabolism to slow down and fat loss to slow down. And that fat is going to keep hanging on around your midsection or wherever you happen to hang on to the fat. And you'll start noticing it. You want to defeat it, start looking at building more muscle. Now, yes, it would be ideal if it was just as simple as that. But there's another thing I can't just leave out, and that's genetics. What I discovered in my journey about studying genetics is so interesting. Some people are genetically wired to build muscle like a machine. They walk into a gym, look at a dumbbell, and suddenly they've got biceps. Others, like me, it's a little slower. My DNA results actually showed that my muscle growth potential is below average compared to the norm. And then add in some of my other gene variations like COMT and MAO-A. Those affect recovery and stress. So all of a sudden, between all of these genes that are navigating how my body works with stress, recovery, muscle building. And I'm like, oh, it makes sense why I always felt like I was just playing catch up and my body was not building like I thought it would. And then there's also the fat loss. Some of us are just genetically predisposed to burn fat slower, which means that little donut around your waist might not budge as quickly as Bryn does, even if you're doing the same workouts. And that knowledge was a game changer for me. I stopped expecting those overnight results and started respecting my own timeline. Everybody is on their own timeline, and that's neither good nor bad. It's just is. And if you'll just accept your body where it's at and say, hey, this is how my body functions, and you work with what you have, then your body's going to respond a lot better. So that patience became part of my program, and it's done a lot to help as well. Because again, if you're stressed out about needing to hit that number on the scale by a certain day, and then you're not hitting that number on the scale, then you're stressed. And then what do we do with stress? We go and hang on to more fat because our body is stressed out. So relax, take it easy. And just do me a favor. If you've ever felt like your body just doesn't respond as fast as other people's, drop a turtle in the comments, because slow and steady progress is still progress. It still wins at the end of the day because you're being consistent and you're taking care of yourself. And you know the story about the tortoise and the hare. The bunny rabbit thought he could just take it easy and take naps. And then he lost the race because the turtle understood consistency would always win. Then the next breakthrough was my cardio. Because if you've known me for the past few years, I would just always sing the praises of running 6 miles a day. Let's get 20,000 steps in every day. Let's do so much cardio, there's no muscle, because we do so much cardio, we run off the muscle, and somehow fat is still hanging on. What's going on here? I don't know. I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. So let me tell you this. Would then, when things weren't working well, I would punish myself with HIIT workouts because everyone swore by them. So you run really fast, then you walk. Then you run really fast, then you walk. You do your sprints, you do burpees. You basically sweat your soul out. It's the fastest way to burn fat. Except I was wrecked. My anxiety went up. My sleep got worse, and my body wasn't changing the way I wanted. Even when I would do long, heavy, steady state cardio that would be running at the fastest rate possible for 6 miles, that would only sort of help my anxiety once I got past the 3-mile mark. Because when I hit 3 miles, like clockwork, I would get that runner's high and I could run another 3 miles. And then I felt good for a short time, but then I felt exhausted and my legs hurt. But I would have to run those 3 miles in order to hit that runner's high, and the anxiety would stop momentarily, but then it was also a lot of stress on my body. So here's how it turns out. Going back to my genetics test, my genes testing, I tested my fitness genes because there are specific genes in your body that will decide how your body manages your fitness regimen, your exercising, your metabolism, how your body processes different foods. So going on that, I discovered my body actually thrives on slower, steady state cardio. So I could do easy jogs. I could do long walks at a fast rate of speed. So a fast-paced walk, not a leisure strolling around town type of walking through the mall. That's not going to do much, except just make your legs tired. So my DNA suggests as well that my VO2 max response is below average, meaning I don't get as much benefit from high-intensity bursts as what other people would get. So instead of chasing all those PRs and just wearing myself out with HIIT workouts, I leaned into what was working. Lifting heavy, recovering well, fueling properly, and steady state cardio. And for the first time, my body started responding. I felt better. I wasn't feeling burnt out every day and then exhausted and then pushing myself and then exhausted and then trying to eat because I couldn't figure out if it was sleep or food that was causing me to not recover well. And then I would end up tanking on exercise because I was just so worn out. It was just all over the place. So here's what I did differently. I stopped chasing skinny. Ladies, I know this is really hard to do if you're like me. And I started chasing strong. Now understand this can be very challenging, especially if you're like me, who's been on a weight loss journey. You lost a lot of weight. And so you may have a little bit of body dysmorphia going on. And it's hard to tell the difference between, am I just strong? Am I gaining fat? What am I doing? I don't want to go back to where I was when I was 80 pounds heavier. I don't know how to navigate all of this correctly. Don't worry about that. What's going to happen is if you're eating healthy, I have to emphasize that you can't go and eat McDonald's every day. But if you're eating healthy and you're lifting weights regularly and you're doing cardio every day, focus on zone 2 cardio because that's going to help burn fat. You're going to grow stronger and that fat's going to melt off over time. Not overnight, over time. And then I started lifting heavy. Ladies especially need to be doing squats every day, ladies. It'll help protect you from having a broken hip as you get older. It'll help you be able to continue to walk. You can squat down and talk to your kids and your grandkids as they're born and they start to grow up. Overall, it's going to help you stay healthy, stronger for longer. Lift heavy, do your push-ups, do your squats. You don't even have to add weights to it. Just do exercises that are going to encourage muscle growth. Then I started fueling my muscles with protein and healthy fats instead of starving myself. I'm a little ashamed to say that I used to try to do that, but don't starve yourself. Starving yourself is going to set everything backwards all over again. Then I gave my body recovery days because growth happens outside the gym. It's not inside the gym that growth happens. If you're running every day just to burn calories, you'll burn those calories during the time that you're running. But if your goal is to also burn calories when you've got muscle, those calories are going to be burned as your body's recovering from the stress that you put on those muscles. So recovery days are essential. And then I accepted that my genetics means slower progress. But slower progress is still progress, ladies. Don't beat yourself up if your progress is slower than Jenny's over there. Progress is your progress. It's your journey. And all that matters is that you're getting progress. And you know what? That's what happened. My metabolism picked up. My anxiety dropped. And that stubborn belly fat, it finally started to shift. Not overnight, not instantly, but consistently, through consistency. And one other thing, I've mentioned it in other videos, but I do think this is very important, especially for women, because I don't think women understand this yet. Or at least a lot of women that I've spoken to, I'm telling them something totally new. When you eat certain foods that your body cannot use as well or doesn't know how to digest well, you're going to bloat and you're going to hold on to water weight. And when you look in the mirror, it might look like it's fat, but it's not. It's just water weight. It's just bloating because your body isn't able to digest as quickly as it used to. And I'm not saying you should starve yourself then or that you should be skipping meals. I'm saying take it easy on your body. Pay attention to how your body responds when you eat something. If you're burping, if you're farting, if you've got a gurgly stomach after you eat, then that probably means you shouldn't be eating that food. If your stomach hurts after you ate, if you're throwing up, those are more extreme cases. Those are the ones when somebody says, oh, I probably shouldn't eat this. But we ignore the little signal of, oh, I'm burping or I have acid reflux or no, that means your body's not metabolizing your food properly. Your body's not digesting the food properly. So if you have foods where you notice that, then don't eat those foods because your body can't use those foods at this time. And you'll start noticing, whoa, the weight's dropping. It's probably not fat if you're dropping 3 pounds in a few days. That's probably the water weight that your body's been holding on to because it's stressed out from trying to digest foods it's not naturally able to digest. We're going to move on from that. I just needed to throw that out there. We're going to move on over into longevity and mental health, because this is very important. Listen up. Here's the part no one tells you. Muscle isn't just about how you look. It's about how long you live. And this was mind-blowing to me because being in my 30s now, I'm trying to figure out longevity because that's normally what people start thinking about in their 40s and 50s. And by then, they've already been sabotaging their health for the last 40 or 50 years. And so what I'm trying to figure out early is how can I encourage longevity and health even younger so that potentially maybe I could live longer. We got to start anytime. Now's a great time to start. So muscle helps with living longer. And there's a lot of reasonings that go into it. You can watch, what is her name? Dr. Gabrielle Lyons. She talks about that. This is the main subject that she talks about is you need muscle, you need protein. So muscle loss with age, which is called sarcopenia, is linked to higher disease risk and even early death. It also, if you don't have enough muscle, protects your bones. It protects your joints, your blood sugar, even your brain health. So if you don't have the muscle, you get the broken hip as you get older. You end up with type 2 diabetes. Brain health, there's another one. You end up with different disorders that you could have avoided. So that's something, if you needed a good reason to go to the gym and start building muscle, I feel like those are really important. Strong muscles literally will keep you alive and independent longer into life. There are people, you know what, actually one of them, Dick Van Dyke. Have you guys heard of Dick Van Dyke? He's an actor who's in his he may be in his hundreds now. I think he's in his 90s, late 90s. And this man still exercises every day and looks crazy strong. He was a dancer, movie actor back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even 50s. I think he acted in some black and white movies, and then he was also acting in the early beginnings of color movies. So he was an amazing actor. He was great with his dancing. It was really cool. He could sing. It was fun. He was a happy person to watch. In his 90s, he's still independent because he keeps exercising. The main point of his life is exercising. And then you look at other people, who's some other famous people who are in their 80s and 90s and still independent. There's another lady that I watch, forgot her name. She's really pretty too. But anyways, if you can remember any of these famous people, drop it in the comments because to me, you want to be able to live as long as possible, being independent for as long as possible. Best way to do that is to build your muscles. So when you train today, you're not just working on abs or glutes. You're training for your future self for a longer life. And let's not forget the mental side. Muscle builds more than strength. It builds confidence. When you hit that new lift, when you see definition coming in, it changes how you carry yourself. And biologically, lifting helps regulate stress. Remember the different genes that I mentioned, like COMT and MAOA? They slow down how I process stress hormones. That means I used to feel wired, anxious, and fried after a HIIT workout. But strength training helps to balance me out. It helps me be more calm, more grounded, more resilient because I'm adding more muscle to my body. If you've noticed your mood actually gets better when you lift, drop a strong emoji so I know I'm not the only one. Next one, tea is huge. One more thing that has changed everything for me is the protein. I'm not making that up. Most of what I eat is protein-based food. If it doesn't have a sufficient amount of protein, at least 10 grams of protein, I'm not going to eat it. Sorry. Don't offer it to me. And if there's going to be more carbohydrates than protein in whatever that food is, I'm probably not going to eat it. I'm sorry. I have to take care of myself first. Most women, this is so important to understand. Most women undereat protein way under. They think that 40 or 60 grams of protein is enough when really we should be eating closer to 100, 150 grams of protein, depending on your size and training. But if you're training to build muscle, you really need, and you weigh over 100 pounds, you should be eating somewhere between 100 and 150 grams of protein every day. Not every day. When I finally started hitting my protein goals consistently, my recovery improved, my cravings went down, and my strength actually showed up in the mirror. And get this, when I talk about my cravings went down, because most of what I eat is protein and it takes a lot of protein and fats in order, you want fats as well to help with hormone health, ladies. Because again, our hormones start doing their little fluctuation thing as we get into our 30s and then our late 30s and early 40s. Our hormones are kind of fluctuating. So we want to make sure that we are getting our fats in as well, our healthy fats, not our McDonald's fats. And so I'll have most of my calories in protein and fats. And when I started doing that, my sugar cravings became much lower to being nearly completely invisible. Most of the time, I don't want sugar, and it's really nice. I'll eat chocolate sometimes, but the craving chocolate is different than craving sugar. And a lot of carbs, my body just isn't hungry except at certain times of the month, which we can talk about in a different video. So here's the takeaway. If you're in your 30s and you feel like your body is betraying you, it's not bad luck. It's not that you're broken. It might just be muscle loss combined with genetics that make your journey unique. The good news, you can build muscle at any age, and you should be. And you can speed up your metabolism. You can outsmart your DNA by playing to your strengths instead of fighting against them. That is the most empowering thing for me, is realizing I can play into the strengths and stop fighting how my body naturally functions. Your path might be slower than someone else's, but slower doesn't mean failure. It means progress at your own pace. So that's why muscle is a secret weapon nobody talks about, especially in your 30s. It's your metabolism, your hormone support, your anti-aging strategy, all in one. If this gave you a wake-up call, smash that button and subscribe, because I'm just getting started. And tell me in the comments, what's your biggest struggle with building muscle? Is it time, nutrition, or patience with slow progress? Drop your emoji below, because I read every comment and I want to know. Maybe it's something I could build another video around to help out more people who are also struggling. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.